celebrating 150 years, Towson University.
Congratulations to each of our 2016 Dean's Recognition Award recipients. As president of the Towson University Alumni Association, it is my privilege to represent more than 150,000 alumni from this great university. The highest honor that the University Alumni Association can bestow on any individual is the Distinguished Alumni Award. The process is long and extensive, beginning with letters of nomination, supporting documentation and screening, and endorsement from university staff and Alumni Association leadership for final evaluation. I wish to thank everyone who participated in this process, of which several are here with us this evening. Thank you all. This year's recipient, Dan McCarthy, is indeed a shining example of all that this award embodies. I've had the privilege of knowing Dan through his ongoing commitment to his alma mater. Over the years, he and I have traveled, cultivated, engaged, and pursued alumni nationwide together, but here are perhaps some incredible lifetime achievements that you probably didn't know about Dan. Dan has over 35 years of progressive experience in external relations. Most of it was in the University of Maryland family of institutions. He has served as executive director of 2 capital campaigns, first at College Park, overseeing the campus-wide development strategy, as well as managing the nearly 60 professional fundraisers responsible for the colleges, as well as plan giving and international fundraising. At Towson University, he led the greatest single fundraising year and major giving in its history. He also served as vice president of the University of Maryland College Park Foundation and president of the Towson University Foundation. Dan served as alma mater for over a decade before lending his experience and expertise to the Terps. At Towson, Dan served 8 years as an adjunct faculty member, while at the same time fulfilling his responsibilities as a director of University Relations, Associate Vice President, and Vice President for Institutional Advancement. Prior to his history with our incredible University of Maryland system institutions, Dan began his career with the Maryland State Police. After graduating from the State Police Academy, he was assigned to work in Baltimore, Hartford, and Cecil counties before being transferred as an instructor at the State Police Academy, teaching motor vehicle law in the alcohol breathalyzer program while reporting to the Maryland State toxicologist. Then, the State Police Superintendent moved Dan to his senior staff as a Director of Public Information, Chief Spokesman for the State Police, Director of Public Affairs for the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, and all the way to the Office of the Secretary as a Special Assistant to the Secretary and member of his senior staff. Dan also performed his duty to his country by serving in the United States Marine Corps as a bomb demolitionist and the United States Army, which earned him 2 honorable discharges. Dan currently is a partner at Bluestone Restaurant in Timonium with his good friend Alan Berrier, who has been so supportive of Dan's philanthropic endeavors. With such an honorable and illustrious career in public service, he has also served so many in the great state of Maryland professionally, financially, and personally. Dan also established the Bluestone Presidential Scholarship Fund, which awarded scholarships and fees to deserving Towson University students over a 6-year period. His additional philanthropy at Towson University supported the TU 150 Endowed Scholarship, the President's Operating Fund, the TU Tiger Club, the TU Blazer Club, the Mass Communications Department and Department of Electronic Media and Film, the Ron Garrison Memorial Fund, the TU Wellness Center, men's basketball, the TU Joseph McMullen Memorial Fund, and the Hoke L. Smith Scholarship Fund. That's a lot. His philanthropic interests extend beyond the university as a member of his community. He raised over $130,000 to support GBMC's Women's Breast Cancer Center, as well as a prostate support fund in their respective foundations. The list, as you can see, goes on and on. I know Chancellor Corrett would say at our previous alumni events, we need your political support, we need your financial support, and we need your personal support. And Dan has followed this lead, and we can only hope more alumni are as true to their alma mater and the University of Maryland system. Dan McCarthy is truly our 2016 Distinguished Alumnus. At this time, it is my privilege to invite our Chancellor, Dr. Robert Corrett, to the podium to present some personal remarks about this year's Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, Daniel J. McCarthy, class of 1975 and 1983.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. I was with Dan last night, and he kept saying to me, this is not a roast. This is an award ceremony. But I was busy all day today, so I didn't have a chance to really change the speech very much. But I'm going to do the best I can. And by the way, it's political support, financial support, and emotional support. Because I ask for hugs all the time, and Dan has always been free with giving the hugs. But Liz and I actually worked on these comments together, and we wanted to make it very personal because we've been very close personal friends of Dan's for a long time. And just to put everything in context, this is my 42nd year as part of the University System of Maryland, so I go back with a lot of you for a long, long time. But when you think of Dan, you think of a lot of adjectives that describe him. No, these are good. It's not a roast. You think of friendship. I've never seen a man make friends so easily and enjoy it so much. I belong to a small golf club on the Eastern Shore, and when I first joined it, I asked Dan to, since he had a house over in Ocean City, one Friday to stop there, and we would go golfing together. And I was a little late, so he got there before me, and he knew the first name of everyone in the golf club, had invited them all to come to stay at his house in Ocean City. I had been a member for 4 or 5 years and had never met these people. You think of friendship, you think of his warm smile, you think of his warmth, you think of the genuineness that he portrays in everything he does. You know that he cares. You know that he loves people and he loves life. And if you meet him, you're likely to become his friend. We have 4 decades of history together, as I mentioned earlier, and over those 4 decades, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things. You hear, great guy. You hear, fun to be with. You hear, I love him. I hear that from my wife on a regular basis as they text. That's another story. Why do people love him? Because he's real, because he's always there for them. I have just a couple of quick stories. When I became provost here in 1986, the president, who I had worked for as dean and other positions, said to me, you know, I'm going to retire in about 3 years, and you could then try to become president. Well, I had never planned to be a provost or a president, and I said, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to be perfectly happy as provost. A little over 9 years later, I was interested in being president, and he hadn't retired yet. So Dan and I began to talk, and this is serious, and a couple of things that I was missing in my portfolio that we felt would be helpful were to learn a lot more about athletics, because as a provost, I didn't have athletics under me. Dan had athletics under him in those days when he was vice president for advancement, and fundraising, which of course he had under him also. So we spent a number of years working on that portfolio, fundraising, athletics, and I should say golf. And all of those, by the way, are helpful as a chancellor or a president. When I was finally offered a presidency at San Jose State University in 1995, I was wavering as to whether to take it. And it wasn't like I felt I had to stay here at Towson, but I had been here 21 years at that point and felt that I would have enjoyed doing that. But Dan said to me, you should go. He said, first, he says, you're ready for it. But he said, secondly, if you ever want to be the president of Towson, it's going to do you a lot of good to go away for a while. And I didn't leave for that reason, but I did go to San Jose State, and I was president there for 9 years, and 9 years later they called me up and asked me to come back. And I loved California by that point in time, and I wasn't ready to come back. But Dan, among others in this room, Secretary Gill, for example, kept working on me. I finally called my wife one day after about 6 months of being courted to come back, and I said, they want me more than you do. We've got to think seriously about going back, and we came back to Towson. Dan was right again in terms of that next step in my life and my career. And when I came back, he was supportive. He was supportive of me and my wife, which he continues today, but he continued to be supportive of this great university. He had a huge reception along with his partner, Alan Bear, at Bluestone, where we reconnected with about 150 people. And it was always there, as you heard through the list of things that he has supported with us throughout my presidency, which was for the next 8 years at Towson University. I also brought him out of retirement, and this is part of the roast, as you heard. One of his expertise areas is retirement. Dan retired from the Marines. He retired from the state police. He retired from the University System of Maryland. He's now retired from Bluestone Restaurant. The man has retired 4 times, and he's younger than I am. And let me also add, part of how any of us are strong is by the people that we're with, and Dan is strong because Mary is with him. She is there to provide the foundation and the parameters that keep him stable, and God knows he needs that. I should also say that Bear has always been there. Sometimes I've wondered and worried about, which one he's with more often. But Bear has also provided that kind of foundation and support. But that, too, is another story. But having a strong, stabilizing force like Mary around you, I think, has helped you a great deal through all of the changes in your life. And Mary, we thank you for providing that support to Dan. Now, I'm going to end with one more story. I am, as many of you know, a golf fanatic. I'm not a good golfer, but I will golf anytime, anywhere, any place. And I often golf with Dan. Now, those of you that golf know that the handicap system is meant to allow us all to play with people of different abilities and to even be out the playing field in the process. Dan does not believe in the handicap system. He will never give me my strokes. And when he does give me a few, he complains all the time. But I enjoy playing with Mary because she gives me my strokes. She gives Liz her strokes, and we have a great time together. Dan is black and gold to the core. Dan, we're here to celebrate you and this award, to celebrate why you received the award, what you have done for your alma mater, and what you've done for all of us, and so many people in this room, and so many people that aren't able to be with us tonight. Congratulations on the award. It's well-deserved. We all love you. Come on up.
I can't tell you how great it is to be the last speaker of a long evening. Mike, you got the clock running, I hope. I'm a product of Irish parents. And my father, who was born in a small village in County Cork, grew up there into his 20s. Asked one time, how long should a good speech be? He said, Dan, just think of yourself as the body at an Irish wake. They need you there to have the party, but they're not really expecting you to say too much. So, I want to obviously thank Lance and the Alumni Association and the Executive Board. Thank Chancellor Corrett, Bob, my good friend, for your very kind personal remarks. And I also like to thank Lori Armstrong and the entire alumni office and the staff, who obviously has done a, as always, remarkable job this evening. Thank you. To be very honest, I am very humbled, very grateful. Not really that comfortable being up here. I like to be in the back of the room, making sure everybody is seated and they got their food and what have you, but it is really part of my fabric, my time here at Towson. I've had, obviously, as you heard, somewhat of an interesting career throughout the many years, but I will tell you that my time here at Towson, both as a student and alum and as a staff employee, was truly awakening for me. It is indeed a wonderful institution. It is, and as evidenced by the Dean's recipients this evening, there's no question we're all, as alums, in good company. I would say that, for the record, I did contribute to the Hoke Smith Scholarship Fund after he fired me the second time. So I mention that I mention that for a couple reasons. First of all, I will tell you, there's back in, I guess it was 86, 87, Towson was listed for the very first time in U.S. News and World Report rankings. This was a big deal. Colleges and universities were never ranked before that. U.S. News and World Report started that. And there's two reasons for it. One, as was mentioned earlier this evening, outstanding faculty. At this institution, somebody mentioned Barry Moore. He was one of my instructors in Mass Comm. I remember a woman who, when I first started going to school at Essex Community College on a senatorial scholarship, I met a woman over there. She was dean of students who helped me kind of formulate where I was heading, and with the expectation I'd go to a four-year institution. Well, after the Marine Corps and after the state police, I ended up here in Towson, and I went over to sign, register, and there was the same woman, Norma Long, who was then the Dean of Continuing Education here. And I make that notation for a reason. And you tell young people, when you know, advice and what have you, you never burn bridges. You never know who you're going to run into later on down your career path or your professional or personal path. And there have been a lot of people that have been responsible for my standing up here, and a lot of them are sitting in this room. Everyone that knows me, everybody. I can't begin to pick out person here or there, but if you know me, if I've worked with you, if I know you as a friend, as a person, you have made me the person I am, because I take something from everybody. However, and Bob, for the record, I did have this noted, there are two people that I would like to point out, because I've never been able to do it publicly. One is my sister, Sister Margaret McCarthy, Sisters of Notre Dame, Dina Moore. Margaret this year will celebrate her 65th year as a nun. And whether she knows it or not, she has always served as an inspiration to me. She was the first one in our family to graduate from a university, graduate school, postgraduate, whatever. And then her career has been filled with many extremely extraordinary things in her life, and I'll just mention one. Back in the 60s, Margaret spent, I don't know, 10 dozen years teaching in East Africa, about 50 miles south of Uganda, where she actually wrote the curriculum and the science textbooks to teach teachers to go back to their respective villages and their tribes to teach the kids. And I got to tell you, Swahili cannot be an easy language. But that's the first person. And as Bob mentioned, my wife Mary, who we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary a few months ago. As those who do know me, I have a tendency to veer off to the left or the right or whatever, and Mary does bring that balance to our life. Always has, always will. back in the state police days where we used to have what called a bat phone where it had a dedicated line, and they never called me with good news, and I'd be jumping up, going to a hostage situation or whatever it might be, a drug raid or whatever, and be gone for a day, day and a half, 2 days, depending on what it was. And she never wavered, never lacked that support. And I love you for it. Thank you. Mike, how am I doing? Okay? All right, we got it. As I mentioned, all of the alums recognized tonight with the Dean's recognition, as well all the alums in the room, I think we have a lot to be proud of. And I've told this story a couple times, and if I've told it to you before, I apologize, but I think it's worth repeating. We're in good company. Everybody here who's attended Towson has taken classes in Linthicum Hall. But I'm not sure a lot of people know why we have a Linthicum Hall. Well, there was a graduate of this institution, John Charles Linthicum, who graduated, went up to Western Maryland to teach, taught school for a while, became a principal, but he wanted really to come back to Baltimore City, where his roots were. Came back to Baltimore, taught for a while, became a principal, but he really had a love for politics. So he ran for the House of Delegates from Baltimore City and was elected to 2 terms. He then decided to run for state senate. He was elected to the state senate from Baltimore City. Well, it didn't end there. He then ran for the U.S. Congress and was elected 10 terms, where he rose to be the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, which is why we have the embassy program throughout the world that we have. He also, which you would think would be the reason I really like him, he was the key sponsor for the bill to repeal prohibition. However, because he represented Baltimore City in that area of Fort McHenry, he was the key sponsor for the bill to make the Star-Spangled Banner our national anthem, which was signed into law in 1931. So the next time you're at a sporting event, a baseball game, or 4th of July celebration, or when you're watching the Olympics and they're playing the Star-Spangled Banner, it's because of one of our alums who were responsible for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you to all the recipients and everyone celebrating with us here tonight. I hope you enjoy this evening and feel a true sense of pride in what our alumni are accomplishing in their personal and professional lives. I would like to ask all the award recipients to meet me at the front of the stage for a group picture. Everyone else, thank you for being here tonight, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you very much.
This has been a production of Towson University. Visit us online at towson.edu.